Okay, hitting and hit reactions. So here I made two guys. They're standing next to each other. And I just have it so if I hit this button, they swing. If I hit this button, that guy swings. Pretty simple. Over in the animator, I have them just sitting idle. They get a trigger to attack, so they attack and comes back. I also have a getting hit animation that goes from the any state. Needs a hit. So the way I would probably do this is let's say this one's the player. In fact, we'll even tag them as a player. And this guy is a bad guy. I'm just using basic colliders. That most of that really shouldn't matter. So on the female, on the player, I put a trigger on the hand right there. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to deactivate that. And in here, I'm going to go to this punching, and I used that guy, and I'm going to say here, pop that up, is I'm going to have a window of when we can hit. So maybe starting there. And then I'm going to come over here, and then I'll say over there, and make another window. Oh. Called end hit. So we have start hit and end hit. Okay. Now for the case of the AI, I'm probably also going to add in one right about there. We're just going to call that one hit. So there's 3 events. So if I make an FSM, and we have, I gotta unprefab these guys. So we have here we have a start hit, we have a hit, we have an end hit. So what I'm going to do is go like this, and in the case of the player, I want that variable. Enable. Collider. Must be on the ecosystem. You don't need the ecosystem for this. It's just easier. Right, so over here now, once this compiles, I can now enable, and the owner is that hand right. You don't actually have to set those, but and this I shouldn't have to set either, but we will double check that. And over here I'm going to disable it. So let's just make sure that's the event's fire. Oh. Right, so there's the event's firing. Now let's make sure this guy's actually enabling and disabling. Yep, he's on and he's off. Okay. So now this guy is going to use the right hand on trigger enter with bad guy. We have hit. We have hit that object. And once we have hit that object, I'll show you how to play particles with the triggers. But let's say we have send event to the hit object. We'll say we'll have an FSN called health. Let's send I probably already have one for it. Damage, so let's put that up there. Go 8, sure. You can use random values. You don't even need to use integers. Just the way I'm doing it. And then over here, let's actually, I'm going to take this guy and copy that, paste it here. We'll have to, well, obviously have to change that one, but and over here we have health. And it needs an event of damage, because that's what we called it. Whoops. Could just use the int info, but no biggie. So we're going to have an int called health. We're going to subtract damage. Make sure to put that underneath it. Okay. So let's just make sure that works. We go into the health. Oh. Alright, that's because we can't have a trigger without somebody having a rigid body. I might as well put a rigid body on both of them. Nah, we'll just use the player. We'll take the one off this guy. Alright, so let's see what that is. So let's hit pause. So we come over here, that it has kicked on. So it's obviously in that state, and I forgot to move it over. Now it's going through that. It hasn't even gone over to even try. Right, so I forgot to do this. Ba-doop. Just like that. It's kind of like this guy. When this guy's done, we're going to go up like this too. Because after we hit once, we don't need to hit again. So I'm just going to take that collider down to make sure it doesn't happen. Right? So now let's see if he doesn't want to hit still. So let's make sure our collider is big enough. Let's go excessive for now. let's pause again. So at that point in time, he is seeing that it's not coming down out of that. That's kind of weird. Alright, I'm going to take that away for now. There we go. Now, if I would have changed that to an on trigger stay, I think that would have made the difference. But now we have damage, right? So health is now down to all sorts of stuff. So let's go like this. Let's give him health of 100. And let's go over here and take this away. But we do need that, I believe. Or else it might throw an error. So let's test. No, let's just get rid of it. The AI can use it, the player doesn't need to use it. So hopefully it doesn't throw an error. If it throws an error, then get this slight animation change. Alright, so it's not throwing errors, so that's good. Okay, so you're probably thinking like, okay, well that's cool, but what the hell? Right? So if we hit, the other thing we want to do is, now you could do it from this side. I actually like to do it over on this side typically. So for example, let's just go like this, put it into a new state. You don't have to do this part, but let's go set animator trigger as hit. Now we have this person getting punched over, right? Everything's good. So I think one of the issues we have sometimes is when using triggers, a lot of people don't know how to do the positioning of the blood, I guess you could say. So let's now go over here. Let's make a variable of our blood. So there's some fancy ways of doing this. One of the neater ways is if we get position of our hand in the world space, and we call a method. Where'd that method go? Alright, well, I'm going to do it this way. Alright, fine. We'll call method. Okay, first we need to get a component. So let's make a variable of a capsule collider. Get component of the object we hit of that, which isn't that. It's actually a capsule collider. We'll call it collider just so it's not confusing. So we're gonna get its collider. Then we can call a method on a collider called closest point on bounds. Position is our hand position. The return is we'll call it spawn. create object, blood splat at spawn. Oh, we have a minor issue apparently. Oh, I put that on the wrong person. That'll teach me. Alright, so what am I going to do? I am going to copy and go over here and open and paste. Alright, so now we're going to, but now we need that same get component. Of the object we hit, the collider. And we're going to call that, and there we go. Now let's see what happens. Right? Closest point on bounds is not a very good spot. So I think that's because we're using a capsule collider. It doesn't have a whole lot of vertices, I don't think. So let's actually alter that. Let's instead, we'll save that one for later. Let's just use our hand position. So where is that? They're at 0. And I think I know why that's all messing up. Because we don't bother getting the position. Oh, there we have it. And that's probably why that call method didn't work, so maybe we should put that back. So get position of our hand, and that is hand. Now that might work. Now that we actually have that, the collider thing might work a little better, right? So but now we have this. That's starting to look a lot better. I might just leave it the way that is. Let's add a slider. And I am just going to get rid of that and put the fill as green. Background a little more darker. Put him down, down, down. There we go. And he needs, say, 100 whole numbers. Let's go over to this guy. So let's right here set UI slider value. And I'm not going to do anything fancy. I'm just going to grab this and drag it in. It's not a good method to do that, but for this it will work. Alright, so let's default that slider full. Right, so there we have this. Right, now we have something happening here that looks actually half decent. But what about the AI attacking the player? And the way I do this, you'll probably laugh. Oh, actually, there's one more thing here. The hit. Sometimes you don't want it to hit super optics, especially if you're using guns. Sometimes you get a machine gun going, and if you call this every time like this setup, you get some pretty crazy animations happening because you're playing the same animation like rapid fire. So lots of times, and with the newer PlayMaker, this has made it even easier, is, for example, I can block until false, and we need a so we're going to block events. I don't know if I want to do that right now like this. So we still need to damage the guy. Well, I mean, yeah, I suppose you could do that too. So this might be just easier. So we take our damage. Now we're going to do a float compare, and we're going to create a new float called timer. And if timer is greater than 3, cool. If it's less, it's not cool. So if it's cool, do this. If it's not cool, go here. And then over here, we are going to float add timer, add 1 per frame every second. So over here, we now need to set float, as if I could frickin' spell it right, set float timer to 0. And then this can go over here. And what this allows is if you're attacking rapidly super fast, it's going to deny that animation, right? Like he's not going to play it, but he will play it after that timer's up. So it can be really useful in a lot of different ways. Mind you, I should default that at 3, I guess, or I guess higher, doesn't matter. I mean, 3 seconds might be high, but that's something you might want to play with. It's really not going to be that relevant in this. So if we have this guy, he's going to be an AI. He's going to chase the player. He's going to get within a range. He's going to attack the player. And by that I mean this guy. So what does he have? Well, he doesn't need the colliders. He's not going to use colliders. He's going to go a completely different route. So if he has a target, which he would get from his site or whatever the case may be, whatever AI system he's targeted with, you would, like if you had some sort of, I don't know, AI system here, and over here it does something, it sees the player, it then would react the way it's supposed to react, but at the same time it would also say, hey target, you are my site, or whatever. Okay, so when it comes to the hitting portion, the AI would have the target, and when we have the target, the way I do AI, you'll probably laugh at this, is I'm going to get the distance, from myself to the target. And then I'm going to float compare. Put that underneath the distance. And say we're in, I don't know, within 3, maybe 2.5. If we're less, oh, that's an issue. Okay, if we're less than that, let's do our damage. So if we're going to do our damage, we are going to set event data, same thing. That's going to be target now, and we can still get position. Get rid of that. So, all right, here okay, we need our right hand object. We'll say over here. Let's go find our weapon of our hand. That's the other person's hand. Right, so ours is just going to be based, for the AI, it's literally just going to be based on distance. Now, I typically wouldn't call the attack unless the AI is somewhat facing the player. But I can show you that after. So we're going to get position of the hand. We're going to get component of the target, and we can call method on here, our hand spawn create. I don't think our player actually has health, but, and all of a sudden it looks like our AI is hitting the player. But in reality, there's no colliders. There's literally nothing on our AI, right? Can't really tell, right? But if I stand over here, he's not hitting. Hits over there, right? So then, now this is where the issue comes in. If I'm standing here, he still hits. So you can, like, say, no, you can do it pre-attack. Or post-attack, I guess you could also do it, right? So if I, let's see, get, I can't get direction, I can get directories on that one. Let's say get position of the owner, which will be our AI. Get position of the target. And then vector 3 operator. And what we're going to do is we're going to do target AI, swap those, and we're going to do a dot product, get a float, and then we can do a float compare again. So if dot is, I don't know, we'll say -0.2. If it's less than that, then we'll do our damage. I believe we'll have to test that. Might have to do some alterations to that. So the dot product, target position, AI How did I get such a crazy number with a dot? That is weird. Normally a dot is -1 to 1. How it's that is kind of beyond me. So let's, I don't know, normalize. Let's normalize AI and normalize target. Okay, yeah, so it's almost 1, which would be right. Yeah, I don't know why we had to normalize. I'm pretty sure I've done that without normalizing, maybe not, but whatever. So if these two are facing in this kind of direction, we have a 1. So that would mean if we we'll say 0.7. If it's greater, then we'll do damage. Right, and this is just kind of one method. So now I hit and I damage. And if I turn the AI like this, now apparently we're still getting a good thing, which is weird. How's that? I'm not too sure why I'm having so many issues with a dot product. If we're perpendicular, it should be like 0. No, it's still showing 1. Okay, we have some sort of issue here. So this is what we're going to do. I put you in an action sequence. I've probably just got some variable put in a stupid spot. I have no idea why I'm getting such a weird result from a dot product. Alright, let's think of something else. Normally that works. I'm going to have to think about why that's not working, because that doesn't make any sense. I guess, okay, here's another way we can do this. Might even be easier. Often, if you look at my AI movement, I use a compass. So if you've already got the compass because you're using it for movement, it's already looking at the player, so that would be ideal. And then you could actually skip a couple of these little bits and pieces. But hey, whatever. So, whoops. Compass, look at target. Keep vertical. Don't need action sequence. We're going to get the negative rotation of that, which is that. So he is, compass is looking at target, we're getting that. His Y is at 2.6. I, for some reason, am not getting that. I wonder if my Unity just needs like a reboot or something. Some weird things happening. So my compass, which is there, is looking on update. Alright, you know what? I'm going to do this. There, that's better. Alright, so let's try this then. Move over to the next frame, since it wants to be stupid. Alright, now, let's float there. So that Y, if it is 0 equal to that, 0 with a tolerance of 30 equal, we can damage. And if not, then just sit there. Plain and simple. So now it looks like he's damaged. Let's go. And make him punch. Ba-doop. Goes all the way through. And if we spin him now, he can't hit them. Now we have a bit of an angle. So now lots of times I'd put this kind of a thing in the beginning, right? So for example, you would smooth look at once your AI is close enough, especially if you're using the root motion, you don't need smooth look at while you're moving typically, but you could say, all right, so once we get into this angle, finish, go here and set animator trigger to attack. And then let's tell this guy he has to spin so he doesn't start that way. Alright, so he spins, and he's close, now he attacks. And he would use that same system as the AI, or as the player does, where we hit, and the AI does this portion, right? You would literally do this exact same thing on the player. And then they can just smack each other around all day long, right? And there you have a way that we can smack each other.